It's coming up. Don't be slower.
Hello. Thank you for having me today to the Keizai Society, and thank you for making time in your schedule tonight. What I'll do is two things. One, I'll go through about 8 slides, just a brief background on our company, and kind of talk about the smart grid, kind of what is that thing. The second thing I'll do is I will talk about a few differences between the US and Japan utility companies as we see it, because we are trying to sell into that market. And so the utility industry and the utility companies are our customers. Okay, thanks. So we're about 10 years old. We're in Redwood City. I'm not sure where that is from here exactly. About 500, thanks. I drove in the other way. We're about 500 employees, probably about 350, 400 usually in Redwood City. Kind of the rest of us are kind of spread out all over the world. We think we're a leader in open energy networks. I'll kind of show you another picture of what we think open energy means. And global reach, we have 29 smart grid customers. For any big company in the room, they see a number like 29 and they think, wow, that doesn't look like a very big number. What these are 29 utility customers who are advanced utilities in the world who have adopted our solutions. So we feel we're the leader in open energy networks. So I'll define what that is again, because we feel it's necessary for utility to have an open energy network to get the most value from the smart grid. We have about 15.8 million devices enabled. These are primarily electric meters, gas meters, water meters, hot water heaters, and now we're working towards integrating, I can announce this, PV inverters. So we're actually working quite a bit across all devices that can measure power and energy. So we think we have a very broad ecosystem. We think if we succeed, our partners succeed, and by and large we're a small company. You'll see in another slide, most of our partners are quite large, and then some of them are quite small. So we do enable startups to succeed working on our platform, and large companies also work with us very closely. Proven performance every day, about 25 billion data reads and counting. This is a lot of meter reads. So we are the electric meter reader network for PG&E. I hope no one's having a problem right now. I'm not the customer service rep, but I'll take any issues and pass them along, of course. And the system's very reliable, and this is important, especially for countries like Japan, where they feel reliability is just critical to the idea of adoption of a smart grid. So this is just a little bit about the background of our company. Next slide. So who are our customers? We're in North America. We're in the United States. We're also we're in South America, in Brazil. We're in Europe, a handful of companies I could see in the UK. We're in Australia. We're the leading smart grid provider in Australia and New Zealand now. And a couple other things we haven't announced, and I have to be careful. I can't really say certain things anymore. Not that I could before, but I really can't now, related to our performance or financial performance. So, so what I can say is, though, is we look for the most advanced utilities in the world. We go anywhere. So we have a group, a team of about 50 folks or more who will be in any country actively working with regulators 2, 3, 4 years in advance of a smart grid ever being deployed. And so our job is to actually educate governments and regulators about what's good about a smart grid and how a smart grid will help your problems. Not our smart grid. That's a sale that we do a couple years later. What we actually do is educate the market first. We think that's the best way to get into the market for us. Next. So the one thing we focus on are what the benefits are to our customers. Because if our customers actually can't make money, we certainly will not be in business. And this is very true for a small company like ours in the smart grid industry, which isn't always true for a conglomerate that may look at the smart grid industry as an interesting place to dabble in, but they don't always have to worry about whether they can make money or make a go of it. We don't have a choice. We have to be able to make benefits for our customers or we can't sell. So a handful of customers we have listed here. Very interesting stories behind all of these. One of the most interesting ones is Oklahoma Gas and Electric. I'll only go through one of these. I won't bore you with all these, don't worry. They use demand response, what we think is the largest AMI demand response residential program in the world. So they did an intensive evaluation of multiple projects and types of technologies, all built on our platform, our smart energy platform. And they did a lot of measuring and testing for like 4 years. They're a great customer, but they're a tough customer. And so every time they asked us for more and more technologies to work on our platform, we made them work. Interestingly, the result was they've decided not to build 2 peaker plants, natural gas peaker plants, that would cost them $320 million. That's the kind of savings that actual utilities adopting technology want to see. They're not just looking for something to be on the cutting edge, and they're not just looking for another pilot project. We actually deliver what we feel for our customers are results. Why are these results important? Because the utilities need to get their investment back. And I'll talk a little bit about return on investment, because in Japan we don't quite understand yet what drives utilities. We don't really know if it's return on investment model, which is all we sell. We don't sell low cost, we sell return on investment. And we think we're really good at that. So anyway, our story is all about how the utilities make money, because then they have to go back to the PUC in each state and ask for money for the investment. So we actually work with regulators, often in every single state in the United States, to actually craft a business plan that makes sense for the smart grid. We do the same thing in international regions. So we spend a lot of time with regulators talking and teaching about what the return on investment model is for a smart grid. This is our view of what a smart energy platform is. We're actually a networking company. We don't sell meters, we don't make meters. We have little network cards that go inside of meters, and they tie back into a mesh network for our core technology, which is mesh networking, using an IPv6 network. We have some software that utility runs, and we offer some services. So this is actually a platform that enables applications. To us, this looks more like an operating system model with applications. And so what the first 2 or 3 applications everybody tries is advanced metering. That's just basically getting meter reads, but it also enables you to do applications beyond that. Next is distribution automation, which has been around for 30 years. But what we do is we run that over the same network. What does that enable you to do? Leverage your investment. Energy efficiency, this is a lot of information availability, but also gathering a lot of information now. Demand response is becoming very popular, we think, in different parts of the world. Maybe Japan, we hope so. We think it could be important. Again, all on the same network. You leverage the same investment. In the past, you would have one network for meter reading. You'd have a separate network for distribution automation. I don't even think you'd have any network for gathering the data for these things. And demand response has been around for 30 years. But they use pagers and telephones and other technologies. Again, you can all run this on the same platform. So this is our view of what a utility would invest in. It's the future so that they can have multiple applications. That's what we think we're selling, and that's the value we bring. So important part of all this is standards. I won't go into this right now, but we've been a leader in standards. What this means is it's not proprietary technology. Everything starts out as proprietary technology. If not, nothing will work. So what we've done is slowly migrate towards standards that everybody can operate and everyone can design products towards. So we have been a founder and a leader in standards for the smart utility networks in the US and now around the world. I want to point out why Sun Alliance is we started it with a Japanese measurement standards body, NICT. This is actually going to be, we're hoping to be a global standard. So this is really being driven out of Japan by a set of really forward-thinking folks in Japan. So it's a very exciting initiative we're participating in. This is our ecosystem. These are the partners that we leverage to actually make the platform. These are the partners we work with to make money. It's very important that we don't sell one integrated system ourselves. That's a kind of model maybe people have used in the past. We don't use that model. We use more of, again, the operating system applications kind of model. So there are a lot of companies here, a lot of small companies, a handful of really large companies, and we often compete with them, but in another part of the company, we work well with them. So an example may be Itron, LNG. Up here in the metering side, for example, we're one of the biggest resellers of their meters in the world. So we work with their metering groups very well. On the communication side, we kind of compete with them often. But that's okay, and we play pretty nice, I think, with them. But it's very important that this kind of co-opetition environment is the nature of this market. This is the last slide, I think. So why would anyone choose us? We're really proven at scale. It's important that this kind of networking technologies, it works very different in 1,000 houses versus 5 million houses. So PG&E is 5.5 million now, our network working. So it's really important. It's a complicated computer science and networking problem. Open standards, applications. We really do try to make sure the utility gains value in this whole picture, and we think there's industry-leading innovation. So I made a few notes here. This is the second part of my presentation. And Phil asked me to think hard about the differences between the US and Japan. And again, I can only say certain things because a lot of our business in Japan hasn't really happened yet. I'm in charge of, I didn't introduce myself properly, I'm in charge of our Japanese efforts for Silver Spring. And so in those efforts, I work with our partners. One of our core partners is Hitachi. Someone from Hitachi Solutions is here. And our work with Hitachi is very interesting because it's actually not Japan focused, it's global. So we signed a deal with them that we just look everywhere in the world where there's something interesting to do. So in a sense, the strength of that partnership is anytime we find something interesting, we can call and talk to somebody about it. Does it turn out to be business? Well, we don't know. What we do is we do know that they're a great partner and they're around the world. We're in different parts of the ecosystem, so we find different deals that they wouldn't always run into, so that's a good partnership to kind of leverage. It might be a model that other small companies or other companies might want to look into. So interesting differences between US and Japan. On the US side, smart grid has been all about operational efficiency, demand response, reliability. In Japan, there's a lot of talk about smart cities. And this is great. It's a holistic view about how energy fits into a whole transportation grid. I mean, it's very forward-thinking, and we think it's very exciting. Whenever I went to the Smart Grid Expo a few weeks ago in Japan, and it was all about smart cities. There wasn't very much about the smart grid, it was all about the smart cities. That's awesome. As a business person, I just have one challenging point to that. Who pays for this stuff? I mean, a smart city, I don't know who pays for a smart city. That's a great vision, I think it can happen. In the smart grid, we target utilities, and so we work on working with utilities to make money. And so it's an interesting different view right now on kind of what's the purpose of a smart grid. Secondly is, there's a big argument in the industry for us around value, return on investment, is how much money you can make. So we're not the cheapest thing out there, we're absolutely not, but we think you can make the most money with us. That's different than, what's the cost? In Japan, initially, right now we hear a lot about cost. It's got to be cheap, it's got to be cheap. And we were on a panel, I recall, US-Japan roundtable panel, and I decided just to say, my real feeling was, I just hope TEPCO doesn't underinvest. And I know that sounds self-serving as a vendor, but really we don't want them to fail. It's not underinvest with us, it's underinvest in general. Because we do think it does take a certain amount of investment to succeed in the smart grid. Last part that I'll bring up is, in Japan they have a great engineering history, great history of innovation, and therefore the utilities are very proud. And so they really want to build everything with their partners from scratch. And it's a great model, and I think it's served very well for a very long time. That model doesn't quite work in Silicon Valley, say, if you work for Oracle and you want to sell packaged software. It's really hard to get into the account because you actually have licensed software. And the Japanese utility would like to kind of start from scratch and make it all over again, and make it better this time. And we know there's some reuse of systems, say software systems, but there's a real different philosophy behind the systems that run utilities, I think, in Japan. So that's a real challenge for a company like ours, because we try to bring the best of all over the world to each customer. And so the number one threat, I think, of the smart grid, say, in Japan, is initial failure. We've noticed in countries where there's a failure with one of the large smart grid projects, basically all funding and everything kind of shuts down for quite some time. And so we really do hope that there's a spirit, and it's very hard in Japan because TEPCO's under the microscope by the whole world, to experiment enough to find out what works right. And we hope we're part of the experiment, but regardless if we're not, we really think Japan and TEPCO can succeed with a smart grid. And I'll just kind of table everything else to any questions more related to your topics. Doesn't have to be related to our company.